Good evening. In this video, we're going to go over this week's options watch list. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, you can find the link in the description of the video and in the bio section of social media. Looking at the economic calendar for the week, I don't really see too much. No Powell. We have CPI on Wednesday, which is Consumer Price Index Wednesday morning, and then we have Friday morning, we have core retail sales, and don't really see too much of anything. I mean, your normal little FOMC members speaking here and there. No Powell, no Yellen, at least as of right now. So we'll have to see what happens if they do end up talking or whatever. If Janet Yellen's just talking, unscheduled and just affecting the market. So we'll have to see what happens. So the bearish side list is very, very thin, and I guess I'll go over that first. So CAT is the first one. Now CAT it's having a divergence going on in the daily. I mean, as you can see right here, it's making higher highs and it's just making lower highs on the histogram, and the weekly pretty much the same thing. You know, it's going lower on the histogram and it's making higher highs, and usually this is what we end up seeing with Roku and Baidu. I just called it like 3 weeks in a row, and then finally it did manage to just dump. So the RCT trend line on the weekly is way down here in the 175 area. So my chair is squeaking like crazy, but yeah, we could end up seeing a really big dive on Caterpillar sometime soon, this week, next couple weeks, I don't know, but usually they'll end up testing this eventually. They get too far away from it, they end up retesting it. So just like it did on Baidu and Roku, and just like I said, Roku and Baidu just took a long time, so I would watch it underneath 240 for push to 236. 235 area is a pretty big area. Then you have 232, 231, 230. Then you get the 226 area. Then after, if it does manage to break the 226 area, you get a little bit of support right here at 223. Then you get the 218, 220 area, 218, and then the 210. So we'll have to see if this is the week that Caterpillar actually does something. UPS is the other one. I know UPS just had a monster earnings. Eventually, it's going to fill this gap. It's just so away from the RCT trend line on the daily and the weekly that eventually it's going to just come back. And the RSI on the daily is like 87. It's just insanely high. And you can see it on the hourly. It's making higher highs, and the RSI is either flat or slightly making lower highs. So it's diverging. There's a bearish divergence on the hourly. And you can see it a little bit on the weekly too. It's kind of flat with the RSI, but on the histogram it's there. So UPS, like I said, with Roku and Baidu, it could take weeks. So just have to keep UPS on radar and see if this is the week it decides to pull back. Apple is another one. Apple, what I'm seeing is the head and shoulders on the daily and weekly. You get the left shoulder, the head, and the right shoulder, and you can see it right here, left, head, and right. The neckline is going to be, it's debatable. I mean, the neckline could be the 108 area, but I'm looking at this 120 area right here, 119. It does manage to get below 129. You get 128, then you get this 126 area where it's actually been bouncing. Well, actually, I should say 127. It's been bouncing there, but if it does manage to lose that, you get 125, you get 121, you get 120. I would say most likely it might try to bounce in this 119, 120 area before actually going into 110. Now, if it does manage to get to 110, I would assume it's probably going to bounce right there, but we'll have to see what Apple does this week. I mean, that's just Gonna depend on the market and what the market's doing, and the market is just futures just opened up. Let's see what the futures is. Futures is looks like it is flat. It's up 1 point on ES, so nothing to see there, I guess. So, but yeah, it's kind of flat. Okay, now Bubba is the last one. Now Bubba, you know, it's beaten down, but I keep looking at the weekly, making lower highs on the weekly. You get a descending triangle going on right here. You know, it's flattening right here at the 223 area, 222. And if it does manage to break this 222, you get 220. Then you get this 215 area. Then you're gonna have the big psychological number right here, 200, but you get the 212 and the this area right here, the 208 area, then 207, 206. Basically, all the whole numbers when you get into the here, there's a lot of resistance right in through here and support. So I shouldn't say resistance, support, but that's what I'm looking for on Bubba. Bubba could definitely go down more. We'll have to see if that happens. Now on the bullish side, now just if you're new to the watch list, just remember the bearish side is if the market's weak, that's what I'm looking for. If the market's strong, I'm going to go to the bullish side. And the top one on there is Shack. Now Shack, it came back right down and tested this RCT trend line right here on the weekly. And this is what it likes to do. It gets too far away and pulls back. Then it gets down here too far and it likes to pull. This thing is a magnet. You just have to pay attention to the direction it's pointing, and it's going to end up acting like a magnet. Now, I'm looking at on the daily, you know, this 88 area, 80, 87, yeah, let's say 88. It's got some pretty good support right here, the 88, 89 area. If it can get over that, I'd watch a push over 90 for push to 95. Now, it may stall out at 95 because that's gap resistance, but because it didn't drop that much, it could instantly fill the gap. Now, when it drops way too much, like if it keeps dropping to like 80 and then tries to make a run to 95, it's going to probably 90% chance it's going to not break gap resistance at 95. But because it hasn't dropped so much, there is a possibility it could break. So I'd watch it over 90 for push to 95. It gets over 95. 100, big psychological number, then fill the gap up to 102. So definitely watch Shack. On the daily, it's below 23, maybe below 20. I'm not quite sure what it actually is. Let me just take a peek. I think it's below 20. Let's see if I can get FinViz. Actually, FinViz has been terrible lately with loading. Yeah, the RSI is 2130, so yeah, it's close to 20. So it's gonna have a dead cat bounce right there on Shack. Baidu is another one. Why am I can't seem to type straight. Baidu, now I know Baidu looks like you get an inverted like cup and handle right here, the cup and the handle, and it can definitely go down 175, 150 and retest this RCT trend line. But I'm looking at it from the point of view that it could end up trying to bounce right here. I mean, it bounced at the 190 level right here, and this is nice support right here. So it could try to find support right here and try to bounce. Now, as you can see on the hourly, it's making lower lows, and it's starting to show a positive divergence, bullish divergence on the hourly. So I would watch it over, let's say 193 for a push to 195. Then you're going to have the 190, 199, 200 area. 200 is going to be a big psychological area. Now, if I can get over that, it's going to strong move, be a push to 205, 206. That'd be a pretty significant area, that 205, 206 area. But Baidu is just when it has those strong days, it can move 20 points on a day. So don't underestimate Baidu. I mean, look right here. The low was 174 and the high was 209. So yeah, that made a almost a $30 push right there. Yeah, over $30, like $35 push right there. We could end up seeing a monster day on Baidu. So, but the only thing with Baidu though, spreads are bad. Options could be low volume, and like I said, the most problem with Baidu is the spreads are really, really nasty. So definitely keep an eye on that. Twitter is another one. I've had Twitter on the watch list last week. I'll probably keep it on there because of the gap down. I'm assuming it's going to fill at some point, and I'd like to watch it when it does. We kind of have like a on the hourly, like inverted head and shoulders. You get a left shoulder, the head, and a possible right shoulder. If it does get over this 55 area, it's probably going to push to the 58. If it does manage to get to 58, it could possibly fill the gap to 64 to 65. So I would definitely watch that for a gap fill recovery. Now the other one I have is same with pins. Pins, same thing. It's making lower lows, and the RSI is starting to show a little slightly positive divergence going right there, and the daily RSI is right at 30, and it likes to bounce when it touches that 30. So it did it here. So we could end up seeing a bounce in the weekly. It's in a good area of support right here, the 57 area, well actually 58, 57 areas get a little bit of support on the weekly. So and on the daily right in here. So I would like it over the let's say 60 for a push to 61. Then you got this area of 63 to 65 and 66. Then you're going to have this really strong resistance in the 69 to 70 area. For now, if it does manage to break 70, you get a gap fill right up here to 77. So definitely could see a gap fill on that. And anytime, like I said, it gets oversold, it likes to, on the RSI, that it likes to take a bounce. Now, another thing to point out is that the histogram is lower here, as it's you get that low here and it's making a lower low, and you get the histogram here, but yet it's lower here, but the histogram has got a higher low. So there is a bullish divergence going on the histogram. So this week may be the week it turns. Roku is another one. Roku had a strong earnings. Now it could pull back and fill the gap. That's always a possibility, but who knows? I mean, Roku could end up being going to 400 by the end of the summer, but I would watch for, if it does manage to fill this gap, I would definitely take anything under 300 for a long-term play, but I would watch it over 320. You could say 320. Where did it close at? Let's see. 315. When does this close? 317. Yeah, so I'd watch over 320 for push to 330, 340. It's gonna have, I had a little resistance at 340. Then you got 350, 345 right here. Then you got 350. This 350. Where's 350? Right here. 350, 355. 360. Basically, anything over 340, all the $5 intervals are going to be resistance based on the chart. So, yeah, that could be, Roku could definitely have a strong move, but it could possibly pull back and fill the gap before for taking off. But Roku definitely be watching that one. BA. Now BA, the thing I'm starting to like about BA is the weekly is stair stepping. It pops, pulls back, pops, pulls back, pops, pulls back, and right here, on the weekly, it tested the middle Keltner channel and the RCT trend line and pulled up. Now it's back on the middle Keltner channel, and it's starting to bounce off it. Now, if it can manage to get over this 237 area, get pushed to 240, 250, then you get to 255, 260. Managed to get over 260, which has been having a hard time the last few times it's gotten there. It's got rejected, but if it does manage to get over 260, it could push to 270, 280. So remember, before all the headaches BA used to be a $350 stock. Who knows if we can get back there or not anytime soon. I'm sure it will eventually, but who knows if it'll be this year or not. But where's SPY? See, not SPY. ES is up like 5 points right now. Just keeping an eye on the futures to see where it's going. Let's see. Costco is another one. Now, Costco, I was actually, the thing I'm kind of a little skeptical about with Costco is it's got a bearish divergence right here on the daily and the weekly. But the thing I want to point out is Costco is double topping on the weekly. I know it rejected and pulled back right here, but Costco is one of those stocks where it gets over the 388 all-time high, it could just rocket to 400 really, really fast. So Costco has come a long way. It's at the top of the Keltner channel. It could pull back, but Costco, like I said, it just doesn't seem to care. It just, the market's red. Costco will keep going. It just does not care about the market. But there is a divergence going on the weekly and the daily. So it could fall apart, but just remember that it could have a strong breakout on the weekly and daily chart. So definitely keep an eye on that over Friday's high of 386 for a push to the 388, which is all-time high. And I think that if it does break that, it's going to go to 390, 400 really, really fast. So the last one I have is, let me see. Can't read my own handwriting. Oh, it's Disney. For some reason, I thought it was Facebook. Disney. Now, Disney's been holding this weekly 20 EMA or middle Keltner channel right here on the weekly, and it's holding this 180 level pretty well. Now, I think that if it does manage to get over Friday's highs, I would say if it can get over this 187 area, it's probably going to push to 190, then 190, 194, 195, then you get 197, 198, then you get the 200, which would be a big psychological area. The RCT trend line's at 198, which if it keeps pulling up, Disney keeps going up, it's going to end up being probably 200, which will be a very, very firm resistance for Disney. So it could react to the 200 level, not very positive. So but yeah, I mean, it is making lower lows, but it's holding this 180 really well. But if it does manage to lose this 180, I mean, this thing can drop to 175, 170, and even get down to the 160 area. So it does have a little bit of a gap right here below 160 and 156. So it's possible if the market's weak, Disney might be one to look at below 182. So definitely be watching that for both directions. I like playing Disney when it has strong momentum or a strong sell-off. I just don't like it when it chops. So that's going to do it for the watch list. I hope to see you in the room. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video. And thanks for watching.